do everything right now to urge the president to do what is necessary, to do it immediately. And let me tell you what's the worst part of this, is that the administration has told General McChrystal not to send his recommendation for the additional troops. We all know that's around 30 to 40,000. Not to send a recommendation as to what's needed to make up the resources to succeed is really not acceptable.
Listen, everybody knows your military experience. If you were a general and you made such a request and it was denied, would you resign?
I think it would obviously depend on the circumstances. The military leadership, men and women in the military only have two choices: carry out orders or resign. But the important thing here is, I think, not only the decision being made, but the decision being made quickly. Admiral Mullen, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, testified we already had the strategy. It's a matter of resources. What's the key to the resources is the men and women in the military. And yes, we need to build up the Afghan army. Yes, we need a whole lot of things. But the key is to provide an environment of security so you can clear and hold and succeed. Listen, that's the strategy that worked in Iraq.
Condoleezza Rice said that if you want another terrorist attack in the U.S., abandon Afghanistan. You agree with that statement?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt that Al-Qaeda would reestablish a base. Taliban, who, by the way, is not popular, would return, and parts of Afghanistan would be under Taliban control, at least parts. I mean, I think it's very obvious. If you don't believe that, you're ignoring lessons of history.
What did you think of the former security advisor in the Jimmy Carter Brzezinski making the comment that if the Israelis try and take out the Iranian nuclear facilities, that in fact he was suggesting that we confront and basically shoot down Israeli airplanes if they flew over Iraq?
Bizarre.
Well, he's advising the president.
Well, remember he gave some fairly, shall I say, advice to President Carter that President Carter implemented that I certainly didn't agree with at the time.
All right, here's the situation. We've got Ahmadinejad just on the heels of coming to New York, again denying that the Holocaust took place. Our own National Security Agency says that their nuclear ambitions are advancing. And at the same time, we see what happens. You know, we're slashing our own nuclear arsenal, and we've got this whole story that we're talking about here, and we pull out our missile defenses in the Czech Republic and Poland. I wanted to get your reaction to that.
Well, a couple of things. One, the Director of National Intelligence was leaked over the weekend that he is stating that the Iranians are sending weapons into, guess where? Afghanistan, just as they did in Iraq. So that's added to the problems there. I don't think there's any doubt that the message was sent throughout Eastern Europe that for the sake of the hope of better relations with Russia, we are willing to sacrifice agreements that we make with our partners, the Czech Republic and Poland. And history shows us that unilateral concessions to our adversaries usually leads to more demands from our adversaries.
Last question on this, and I know you've disagreed with the president on the issue of going after the interrogators, Gitmo, et cetera, even though you were on the same side in some respects on the issue. Do you think the president is adopting a pre-9/11 mentality? Now, I know those are pretty strong words, but I believe he is. I believe he's weakening our national defenses. I think if you look at Gitmo, Mirandizing enemy combatants, cutting back on defense, slowing down our nuclear growth. It seems to me it's beyond a pre-9/11 mentality. Do you feel the same way?
I don't know, Sean, but I think that whether he heeds the advice of count them seven former directors of the CIA to halt this investigation, which, by the way, had taken place, I think that'll be an indicator as to his mentality.
All right. And by the way, Senator, I want to thank you. I know you tried to get water to the farmers out in the Central Valley, the San Joaquin Valley out in California, and we've been following that story. Apparently it was unsuccessful today, but I understand you played it along with Senator DeMint, a big part in that. Thank you.
Senator DeMint, thank you for making the American people aware of this terrible situation. Thank you, Sean.
Well, I can't believe the two California senators stopped the effort, and hopefully there'll be some political pressure there to make them change their mind. Thank you. for being with us.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
And coming up, Vice President Joe Biden says hope and change could come to an abrupt end. We're going to tell you what he thinks has the potential to bring down the Obama administration. And former President Bill Clinton has weighed in on the racially charged comments made by Jimmy Carter last week. We'll check in with the architect, Karl Rove. We'll get his reaction to that story and the Brothers Beckel debate coming up straight ahead.
We can't promise it'll make your days less hectic, help the kids get along, or make you look